So you're sat at a red light on a Tuesday morning, half asleep on your way to work, and a brand new £70,000 posh SUV pulls up beside you. And the driver looks about your age, or maybe even younger, which obviously makes everything worse. And in the 4 seconds before the light goes green, your little brain does a little calculation that completely ruins the rest of your day. What do they know that I don't? Because you know roughly what people that your age earn, right? You are people your age after all. You know what the mortgage costs, you know what a weekly shop costs, and none of that adds up to that big posh SUV, does it? That feeling that everyone around you is quietly pulling ahead, that you're the only one checking the price of the things in the supermarket while everyone else is in the Maldives and getting the kitchen done up, is probably the most common financial worry that I ever hear. And it seems impossible to argue with, doesn't it? Because mathematically, of course, not everyone can be in the top 5% of earners. But you look around and it really genuinely often, I see this all the time, feel like people are, like everybody is doing well. 15 years of working with people just like that driver, I can tell you the thing that you're actually looking at is not what you think it is, okay? I've seen the spreadsheets, I've seen the bank statements, the credit files, the loan agreements that nobody mentions. And if you're feeling a bit financially squeezed right now because you're the one that's quietly putting away money and sacrificing a little bit, you're almost certainly ahead of that driver in the SUV. Let me tell you, not level, ahead, okay? And to see why, you need to understand something that's a bit broken about how all of our brains read money. Now, we all run on the same assumption, and it is genuinely a completely sensible one. If someone spends money on a thing, they must have the money for that thing, right? It's entirely logic. That logic has held up through most of human history. Like, if you saw someone with a big pile of grain, they had a big pile of grain, right? But modern finance has kind of snapped that link. And it snaps so quietly and progressively over time that most people just haven't really noticed, and our sort of animalistic brains haven't really caught up yet. So try this, okay? Imagine 100 people that you work with, right? Or just 100 people in a room. Over the next year, 99 of them set up a standing order that quietly moves £500 a month into an investment ISA. And remember, an ISA is just an account where all growth or dividends or interest or whatever it is that you receive is completely tax-free. It leaves their account on the 3rd of every single month, right? 500 quid going in every single month. And nobody really mentioned it. It's the least interesting thing that happens to every single person in that office every single month. The 100th one takes out a loan on the quiet for £20,000 and buys a speedboat. Now, which one of those do you think that you're going to hear about in the kitchen at work? You never see the 99 people's accounts. They don't exist as far as your eyes are concerned. You only ever see the shiny speedboat. And your brain, doing exactly what it was evolved to do, quietly concludes, well, people at my level are buying speedboats. So what the hell is wrong with me? Wealth is literally, by its very definition, the money that you didn't spend, right? Or you didn't lose. The car not bought, the upgrade skipped, the money sat in a global index fund, which of course is just one pot spreading your money across sort of tiny slices of thousands of the world's biggest companies at once, doing absolutely nothing photogenic or flashy for 20 odd years. That is wealth, which means that real wealth is invisible. Always. It like has to be, right? The only thing that you can ever actually see is consumption. That's the only thing that is visible. You're comparing your behind the scenes to their financed highlight reel, which raises the obvious question, and I suspect that you're probably already here before me. If they're not sitting on a mountain of money, well, where does it actually all come from? Now, I'll be honest. When I first started out, I misread this whole thing and kind of got it all wrong myself with a couple of clients. So early on, I had a couple come in, really nice couple, beautiful house. He had a watch on at the time, I remember talking to him about it, that cost more than my car did at the time, right? And I remember thinking, right, okay, I need to be very well prepared. It's going to be very sophisticated, financial planning and blah, blah, blah. I need to be on my A game. These are like proper people, right? Then we went through the numbers and I genuinely thought that I had made like an error in my spreadsheet. I was a bit embarrassed, right? But their net worth, which is what they own minus what they owe, was genuinely slightly negative. They were worth less than nothing in a flashy 4-bedroom house just outside London and a Range Rover parked on the drive. It was crazy. Now, that was the first one, right? But I'm telling you, it was nowhere near the last of those sorts of people that I had to have to work with. Now, I've done that so many times, I've got a name for it in my head. High earning broke. Because it's the bit that we've all got quietly muddled, isn't it? Cash flow isn't wealth. And we always treat it like it is. It's really strange. Look, in business, everyone understands this difference instinctively, right? If you have let's say a bakery that turns over £1 million a year, but it costs 1.1 million quid to run, nobody's going to call that a successful bakery, right? They call it a bakery that's about to close. But we take our own salary, which is turnover, that's all it is, and we spend as close to the edge of that as we can without blowing up our lives. And the entire banking system and financial system is built to help you do exactly that. It is very, very good at taking a huge number and slicing it into small, monthly, manageable ones that do not frighten you at all, but sort of quietly steal your future. And the crazy thing about a big, expensive thing like a £70,000 car is that nobody is sat there writing a check for 70 grand, right? No one is physically transferring that money for 70 grand. Like, the pain is not there. It's £5,000 down and £800 a month for 4 years. And by the end of it, the keys go back and you own precisely nothing anyway, right? The Maldives trip went on a credit card and gets paid off over 12 months, if it gets paid off at all. The sofa that is split into 4. So when you look at your peers or other people and assume there's this great big pool of capital underneath all of this, from where I sit, on genuinely is the absolute opposite. It's a house of cards built on next month's payslip and every other payslip after that. They've swapped their future income for stuff that they get to have now. They're not richer than you, they're leveraged, right? Which just means that they've borrowed against money that they haven't even earned yet. And that is a completely different animal and by no means a comparison to where you should be. It looks identical on the outside, but it behaves absolutely nothing like it the moment that something actually goes wrong, right? One redundancy, one long-term sickness, one rate rise at the wrong moment. This, after COVID, we had this interest rate rises. It just destroyed everyone that had this leveraged lifestyle. I had a bloke a few years back. It was 2 months. I saw him for the first time 2 months after he'd been let go, right? He had a good job, a good salary, and it was just gone, basically in a morning. And he couldn't really get his head around it at the time. He understood about the job loss, and that was fine. But what he couldn't understand were his outgoings. The car payment just came out on schedule. The finance on the kitchen that he just upgraded to came out on schedule. All of it arrived, and it just carried on arriving regardless of what his situation was. because it had all been agreed back when money was never going to stop and it was all predictable and it was all affordable. I've sat opposite people who run departments, right? Other adults visibly respect them and watch them come apart in front of me over a $4,000 debt payment that they can't get out of, leaving the account on the first of every single month, regardless of how their month is going financially. They look rich, but they're frightened. That's the genuine reality. And once you know that's what you're looking at, something else starts to make sense as well. Because if they're running on borrowed time, why does your version feel so much worse than theirs? Actually, what I want you to do is do this with me for a second, because the numbers here are kind of the whole argument, right? So say you're on £4,000 a month. You're sensible. 800 a month goes into investments and a couple of hundred a month sits into emergency fund. So you're living on £3,000 a month. Your colleague who earns the identical £4,000 a month and saves none of it, and that spare £1,000 a month buys a car, buys a wardrobe, or just a lot of nice dinners or whatever, or going out or spending it down the pub. Every single day you see the physical evidence of their success, right? It's in the car park. It's on social media at 9:30 on a Friday night. And your reward for being sensible is a number like on a screen in an app that you maybe look at once a month, and honestly it barely moves. Your brain absolutely hates this. Of course it does. You are wired for status that you can see right now, today. And being told that your compound growth calculation looks magnificent in 2045 does nothing at all for the part of your brain that stood in a car park on a Wednesday, right, in the rain, next to that flash car when your car's 4 years older than everyone else's. But that tightness you feel, having to say no to something that you can genuinely technically afford, is the sensation of building wealth. There isn't a version where it feels good immediately, at least for a long time. It's delayed gratification, and that is the best kind. And if you look and if your current account looks lean and empty because the money has already gone out into investments, you are not behind. You're not behind. I aim to have zero in my current account at the start of the month and zero in my current account at the end of the month. If that is you as well, you're not behind, you're ahead. And you're particularly ahead of the bloke with that overly expensive SUV car, genuinely ahead. And the only reason it doesn't feel like it is his position is on display and yours is on an app on your phone. The people who never feel that tightness are spending everything that comes in, which feels lovely right up until the month that the income doesn't come in anymore, which changes everything about it. And certainly what you see on that drive home. Next time that someone in a £70,000 car pulls up beside you, you're not looking at someone with £70,000. You're looking at someone with £70,000 less than they have, or far more likely, someone who's promised a bank a decent chunk of the next 4 years of their working life. And the thing that catches people out, the thing that I sort of often have to unpick the most during my one-to-one sessions with people, is that real wealth doesn't look anything like that at all. It's having the option to walk out of a job that's making you stressed and ill because there's 2 years of expenses sat in the bank account behind you. It's waking up at 3 a.m. and going for a wee or something and going straight back to sleep instead of sitting there lying there doing sums about your mortgage and your car payments and your credit and your debt. It's saying yes to something without checking a balance or something else first. None of that fits on the driveway. None of that photographs well. Nobody will ever ask you about it in the kitchen at work. I'm telling you, which is exactly why you spent so long assuming you were the only one without it. Now, to get all of this in place, you're going to need a system, right? Which is why you need to watch this video here next, because I'm going to take you through a step-by-step system to take your earned income and convert it into wealth, starting today, right now. So give it a click and I will see you there.